Hello there, it's Pastor Matt. We have a message here for the kids this Friday night. The thing I'd like to talk about this evening is a question that I'd like you to consider is, what do you focus on the most? Maybe there's something that you look at a lot, like video games or books or TV, things in this life that you like a lot, like a toy or pictures, some type of art. There's lots of things that we focus on, and what you focus on the most can actually make you really happy or really sad. If you focus on a lot of sad things all the time, it's actually going to make you sad, and if you focus on a lot of happy things, this tends to make you happy, or at least be able to manage being happy more often. The verse is this, Colossians 3, because we are those who follow Jesus. Paul says this, he says, "If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God." Seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on things on this earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. So I just want to focus in on this verse. I want you to think about this today. It's this verse where Paul says, if you have been raised with Christ, that is, if you know Jesus, if he is your Lord, and he's given you his life, his resurrection life, that's inside your body. Your body's not resurrected, but your soul, your spirit is alive now in Christ. You know God. You're resurrected, the beginning. Seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. That's what we're supposed to do. So there's things down here, this world, and the stuff in this world. And we function here, and we look at stuff here, and we touch stuff here, and all the things down here are very, very important. But ultimately, where should we be looking for our life? He says to seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God the Father. Now, set your mind on these things above, not on the things of the earth. So I want you to think about what you think about the most. Do you think about God a lot, or do you think about yourself a lot? Do you look at God a lot, or do you look at yourself a lot? Here is something that we use to look at stuff. It's called a magnifying glass. And when you actually look through it, things are very, very big. Now, from this distance, a lot of stuff looks really blurry. But if I were to hold it up, remember this picture last week, if I were to hold it up to this picture, I would see that the image behind it, the image of that father, for example, and the son, becomes very, very large. And I can see all the details, and I can see the color and the paint and how it printed up across the printer. Now, this magnifying glass is like you and me with our eyes. We can either, whatever we look at, the longer we look at it, the more we hone in on something. It doesn't really make a big difference when you're out really far because it's all very blurry. But if I get close enough to focus in on one topic long enough, eventually my eyes will clear and I can see, maybe you can see, I can see that something's becoming very big, and it's taking up my whole sight, my whole vision. Now, look at this magnifying glass and think about this dynamic. I could take this magnifying glass and look at myself like this. I could examine all the thoughts of my mind, and you know, how tall I am, how smart I am, how many friends I have or don't have, what kind of life I live, all these things that I have, toys or games. Look at my life and look at all this stuff, and I could magnify my life. And if you do that, you're going to make yourself really, really sad. You're just going to make yourself sad. That's just what Paul's saying. Don't do that. You're going to make yourself so sad. The thing this is meant for is to look up. You look up, he says, set your mind on, seek the things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. If you seek those things, if you're seeking Jesus, that is, without the magnifying glass, how do you really do that? Because that's just a picture. How do you really seek Jesus? You have to go to him in prayer, and every thought you have, anything in your life that's important to you, start talking to God about that. Just talk to God about that kind of stuff. And what you're doing is you're taking your mind, your eyes, and looking up to Jesus regularly. And if you do that over everything, you're just going to be happier. You're just going to have joy. You're going to rejoice in the Lord all the time. Because if you focus in on yourself, you get sad. If you focus on God, you get happy. That's just the law of life. That's just the principle of the gospel, why we worship Jesus every week. And I hope to see you there this Sunday, that we'll put our eyes on Jesus and have joy in him, not in ourselves. So I'll see you then.